My name is Nora Mulligan, and I am the president of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you have been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which our church building sits as the ancestral homeland of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people. We have one announcement. UUCHV, in partnership with the Diversity and Inclusion Committee of Croton, are hosting a live viewing of the documentary Look Away, Look Away on this Friday, November 4th at 6 p.m. Refreshments will be served. There will be a Q&A via Zoom with the film producer and director, Patrick O'Connor. Our facilitators for the Q&A will be Reverend Daniel Lawler, Reverend Lane Cobb, and Croton Diversity and Inclusion Co-Chair, Kat Randall. Due to mature themes, this movie is recommended for ages 15 and up. For planning purposes, please RSVP to Tina Mayer at mayor872@gmail.com or Jane Podell. For the most up-to-date information, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. The website is also the place where you can find contact information for our staff, Board of Trustees, and other congregational leaders. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you're present in the sanctuary, feel free to stay right here, go into the fellowship hall. If you are watching the live stream, the link for a Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email and on our website. If you're just recently joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us with your name and we'll make sure you're added to our e-news list. We can also answer any questions you may have. Email us at uucroton@gmail.com or fill out one of the yellow cards in the back of the pews and drop it in the collection plate. Please silence your cell phones at this time, and once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Hudson Valley.
It is my pleasure to welcome back Reverend Terri to our congregation. Reverend Terri is minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stamford, Connecticut. Reverend Terri earned her Master of Divinity from Drew Theological School and Hartford Seminary and was ordained in the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Westchester, her internship congregation, in fall 2021.
It's great to be back here with all of you. I think I was here last in May. Welcome to this gathering place. Let us gather to reflect on the path of courage, the path that we travel together, sometimes with certainty and boldness, other times with hesitation. Let us honor the ordinary, quiet courage that plods along in the face of great obstacles, and the courage that dares to raise its head even when it has hit a wall, over and over again. Let us give tribute this morning to this extraordinary courage, this often unseen, quiet courage, as I lift up these words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. There is a quiet courage in the choice to let go of the past, in the choice to be present in this new day, to live for this hour, this moment, and to believe in its possibility, to release the regrets, to stop the spinning of stories of what was and is no longer, and accept this gift, to believe that we are worthy still of happiness, of ease, of delight and hope, to believe we have all we need to heal already, and to receive this wholeness with ready hearts and open hands, saying only thank you. Come, let us practice this surrender together, gathering up all the brave boldness we know can be found in our bones and blood if we will breathe together, knowing ourselves a part of this one life filled with mystery, creativity, and power, changing us, growing us, calling us into partnership with all that is. Come, let us worship together.
Our chalice lighting words today come from Betts Weinecke. May this flame, symbol of our transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within us and around us. Now please join us in reading our unison affirmation. The words can be found in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice. Let us now bear witness to the joys and sorrows experienced in our community. If you have a brief yet personally significant joy or sorrow that you are willing to share, please come up to the microphone and speak loudly so that everyone, including the people watching at home, can hear you. If you would prefer to have a candle lit without speaking, please just stand and I will light a candle for you.
I suppose the Republicans sent this to me because I am a former Republican. But even they can do something helpful every now and then. If you think you may be unable to vote on November 8th, this is a list of places you may go in Westchester between now and November 6th to vote early. So I'll leave copies of it on the table, where you can pick them up on the way out. I was only to make about a dozen of them because my printer ran out of ink, but I hope you will find them helpful. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm April, and I have a couple of joys. The first is I attended the startup workshop yesterday with Reverend Daniel Lawler, Evan, sorry, I don't remember all the last names, but Evan and those who were here for the startup workshop, and it was really, I believe we connected deeply and openly as we discussed where we've been as a congregation and where we are currently. But what brought me, I think, most joy about it was something that Reverend Daniel said, that in this day and age, and particularly with this faith, we're all here voluntarily. No one makes us come. And it's a joy to me that everyone is here and contributes to our fellowship. And then the second joy is just that William brought $30 worth of groceries this morning from Food Town based on the donations you've been giving him for the food pantry. And it is a joy to go over with him, like, what do you bring, what do you not bring to a food pantry, right? So instead of Lucky Charms, you bring Cheerios, right? So it's educational, and it's a joy to see him participate in this way. Thank you.
we also light a candle for the joys and sorrows held within the sanctuary of our hearts. And we also light a candle for those who still need a place to bring their joys and sorrows.
Let us enter a moment of centering meditation. And as we lift our heart's spirit of compassion and life, lift our voices to the sky, we are in search of more love, more peace. We offer our prayers for all who are sick, all who are hungry, all who struggle, all who are in despair. We hold those who are suffering from war and violence around the world in our hearts. We hold those who are oppressed for being who they are, and we pray that all who seek may find a place to bring the wholeness of their lives. Our lives are a part of a greater whole. And in this microcosm, in this congregation, we reach out to one another for hope. May we find the courage in these days to persist when so much might wear us down. I lift up these words from the Reverend Richard Gilbert. When we are overwhelmed with the world and cannot see our way clear, when life seems a struggle between tedium and apathy, or frenzy and exhaustion, when today seems a punishment and tomorrow a torment, may we find the courage of patience. May we recognize courage in ourselves and our companions that is not dramatic, that elicits no fanfare, that commands little notice by the world, that is forgotten and taken for granted. May we learn how to cope like those who live one day of pain at a time, who see the long path of suffering and do not despair, who inspire us by their patient courage when we are impatient and afraid. May we know such courage and quietly celebrate its presence among us as we enter a moment of silence.
Joyce Rupp titled, "Old Maps No Longer Work." I keep pulling it out, the old map of my inner path. I squint closely at it, trying to see some hidden road that maybe I've missed. But there's nothing there now, except some well-traveled paths. They have seen my footsteps often, held my laughter, caught my tears. I keep going over the old map, but now the roads lead nowhere, a meaningless wilderness where life is dull and futile. "Toss away the old map," she says. "You must be kidding," I reply. She looks at me with sour eyes and repeats, "Toss it away. It's of no use where you're going." "I have to have a map," I cry. "Even if it takes me nowhere, I can't be without direction." "But you are without direction," she says. "So why not let go? Be free." So there I am, tossing away the old map, sadly, fearfully, putting it behind me. "Whatever will I do?" wails my security. "Trust me," says my midlife soul. No map, no specific directions, no this way ahead or take a left. How will I know where to go? How will I find my way? No map. But then my midlife soul whispers, there was a time before maps, when pilgrims traveled by the stars. It is time for the pilgrim in me to travel in the dark, to learn to read the stars that shine in my soul. I will walk deeper into the dark of my night. I will wait for the stars, trust their guidance, and let their light be enough for me. Now please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our second hymn, number 396 in your gray hymnal, "I Know This Rose Will Open."
What do we do when we are standing on the brink of the unknown? This might be the ending that comes with a change in life, the end of a career or a marriage, the loss of financial security or physical mobility, the death of a parent or a spouse, or simply the movement from one life stage to another. Or it might be the everyday, the struggle to rise and find meaning, the enormous effort of being always in recovery, a chronic illness or disability, the anxieties about what our lives and our loved ones' lives will be. We are worried about pandemic, politics, the state of our earth, and our own complex feelings, memories of the past, our own self-worth, where we belong. These are all the places where the map has been lost. These are all the places where we are seeking a stable sense of direction. In each of these places, we may experience fear. Fear so large sometimes that it looms over us like a monstrous sea creature. In fact, if you look at the maps of medieval cartographers, you may see there, on the edges of the distant ocean, a notation in Latin, hic sunt dracones, here be dragons. There was a widespread belief that this phrase was used to denote dangerous or unexplored territories. It was indicative of any area that was not yet charted or explored. The dragon representing potential danger, a fire-breathing monster. To turn the unknown into a monster, that's what we people do. And yet, we also love to turn monsters into play. I was born in the year of the dragon, so I'm a little partial to this creature. And I was also born in the 1970s, so I have memories of fire-breathing dragons as animals to befriend, like Puff the Magic Dragon, or the invisible Elliot in Disney's Pete's Dragon. Not monsters, just misunderstood, loving, playful creatures who offer protection and friendship to children. Maybe it's a human universal that we love to both magnify those fears, but also play with them. We are, this weekend, of course, in the season of Halloween, a time of celebrating nightmares and the elements of play, vampires, werewolves, mythical creatures showing up as costumes at our doors. They show up as people playing with our experience of fear and imagination. I have 2 teenage daughters, and a few weeks ago we went to the Headless Horseman in Ulster Park, the largest haunted house attraction in the United States. And we were chased by monsters with chainsaws and butcher knives. But it was scary when I saw my daughters running away and where are they going? But no matter how often we were chased, there was a knowing that we would never be touched. Those were the rules. And there was a knowing that this was play. This was not real. So we play maybe because we want to control and keep our fears at bay, to turn them into something that is non-threatening, something we might be able to understand, something that in the light of day with the removal of a mask will tell us that all will be well. Maybe by playing with our fears, we might become more courageous. And yet, real fear is pretty ordinary. It's not dragons or headless horsemen. It's everyday facing of life. Life that can be so difficult sometimes that we might want to give up. The reality of our stories is pretty ordinary, and yet it might take an extraordinary amount of courage to keep going. When we reflect on the path of courage, we might feel more anxious than courageous in our bodies and bones. And messages around fear and courage are prevalent everywhere. They're everywhere in many of the world's religions, if not all. For instance, the most common phrase in both the Hebrew and Christian scriptures actually stuck with me, believe it or not. They didn't make things better right away in my life, but there was a message there that I've continued to embrace about moving towards things that scare me. And moving towards things that scare us, particularly the dragons that we build up within us, that can help us grow. Because It's true, the more and more that we avoid those fears, those parts of ourselves, the more powerless, overwhelmed, and trapped that we feel. But how do we face our fears without being reckless or careless? In the everyday, the work of courage does not involve expeditions or yielding a sword or any weapon for that matter, nor does it involve getting rid of our fear. In fact, the most courageous acts take place right alongside fear. But rather than avoiding it as a way of coping. And for children, this is literal sitting through the practice of meditation. She writes, "The central question of our training is not how we avoid uncertainty and fear, but how we relate to discomfort. How do we practice with difficulty, with our emotions, with the unpredictable encounters of an ordinary day? How do we learn to stay, breath by breath, year after year, to move towards our distress without condemning or judging the experience? It is by opening to our vulnerability that we become warriors of non-aggression who can hear the cries of the world and respond." This work of facing fear, then, begins with the opening to pain and vulnerability. It begins with the spiritual discipline of sitting still and paying attention to our fears. Opening to vulnerability that begins by looking at the core of our hearts, the place where true courage is stored. This spiritual teaching about fear invites us to see courage as an inner process, as something that resides at our center. And in fact, the word courage comes from the Latin cor, which means heart. According to poet Mark Nepo, the original use of the word courage meant to stand by one's core, a striking concept that reinforces the belief that living from the center is what enables us to face whatever life has to offer. This core is the place deep within ourselves where we are most vitally alive. It is the place of our deepest held values and principles and beliefs and authentic truths. The essence of who we are, the spiritual center, the heart and soul. So to face our fears is to look within and come into a place of true aliveness and fullness of being. It is to move and come. It has the principles and the truths. It can also have a bit of a dragon. I went on a retreat several years ago. It was called a Western Zen retreat, and the founder of that retreat was named John Crook. And there was a chant that we did on that retreat about looking at difficult emotions, and the words were, "Let what is there emerge from its lair." So let what is there invade your breathing, and let it all go. So letting what is there within us can sometimes be a dragon or a monster, and learning to sit with it and look at it is part of the work. That difficult work of facing the self can be transformational, though. It can move beyond just a personal practice into a collective one, because we are emboldened in community to change our cultural dreams of fear, and we know they are there as we fear the other, the ones who are not us. To change our cultural dreams of fear into ones of healing. There is a movie that came out several years ago, a documentary film, about a prison meditation program. The film was called The Dama Brothers. The prison meditation program took place at Donaldson Correctional Facility in Bessemer, Alabama. And I saw this film several years ago, and the film concentrated on the lives of 4 inmates, and it had interviews with the inmates. They were all convicted of murder, and it included interviews with the inmates, with the guards, with the prison officials, and with local residents. And each of those 4 people described the incredible transformation that occurred for themselves over the course of 10 days. They did a 10-day silent Vipassana meditation retreat. As one inmate described it, those days were more difficult than 8 years on death row. And yet they also described the community, the sangha of support that formed between the men, that helped them to persist, that helped them to see their own dragons and to transform them. It helped them move from a personal transformation to a collective one as they began to transform the community around them. And they formed an alternative social community based on spiritual development and friendship amidst a culture based on control, violence, and punishment. And they share this story with, as I watched it, an essential truth that emerged was that courage is a shared experience, not an individual one. The word encourage, if we think about it, means to hearten, to impart that strength and that confidence to others. We need one another to be courageous together. Reverend Erica Hewitt writes, "This is our work as a religious community to encourage one another, to be bold in engaging the world around us as well as what scares us internally, to give one another the confidence and heart to live as fully as possible." This encouragement invites us beyond the inner self into a place of community and interdependence. It is the difference between a gated community that seeks to keep out the things that scare us on the outside of a fence. The difference between that and a support group such as an AA support group that allows people to face their fears together of what is on the inside. And as a UU congregation, as all UU congregations, we are called to encourage one another. It's right there in our 3rd principle as we covenant to affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. And that's an invitation to extraordinary courage and an invitation to draw a new map. Albert Schweitzer has stated that at times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. We've all had that experience when our own light goes out, and it is another person or others who help us to see, another person who encourages us to return to our inner core. As we heard in the poem earlier by Joyce Rupp, a poem in which a woman, Sarah, reminds the poet to get rid of the maps, to look to the stars for guidance. We need one another to face fears and create new maps. I invite you to hold in your mind the person or people or community who has, at a time in your life, rekindled your spark or helped you redraw a map. To face our fears is to come into a place of true aliveness and fullness of being. It is to stand or take a stand that comes from a deepest place of being. Several years ago, I had a dream, and I was in the middle of a lot of fear and change in my life, and I was also discerning a call to ministry. In that dream, I found myself in a frightening place, dreary like a dungeon or a dragon's lair, and it was filled with frightening scenes. But I did not freeze or run away. I continued to walk because I realized that I was not alone in that dream, but side by side, accompanied with companions who'd been there before. I was encouraged with the presence of these people that all would be okay. I awoke from this dream knowing that I was returning and walking with compassion and strength. When we move together, when we walk together, we encourage one another to remember who we are at our core and to live from the places of beauty and bravery of the principles that unite us. We encourage one another to become our best selves and to ground ourselves in moral courage. When we gather together, that ground becomes a holy place. And it is then that we can transform our pain and our fear into love, into the fire of commitment that burns in our hearts and transforms our world. So may we ever be bold as we navigate the uncharted seas and move beyond our walls, beyond our fears, into realms of possibility and promise. It takes courage to walk into fear, but we do not need to walk alone. As Reverend Gretchen Haley invites us, in these days when so much is at stake, in this place, we remind each other why we persist, giving each other courage to take this path that is not always easy, to keep practicing this love that cannot, will not let us go, and still calls us on. And so I invite us all, let us accompany and encourage one another on this journey. May it be so. And I invite us to rise in body and in spirit as we are able to sing together our hymn number 1020, Woyaya.
Each week, we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in a spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those who in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will be shared with Ossining Microfund. The fund is a nonprofit organization offering interest-free loans to individuals and families who experience unexpected financial obstacles. For more information, visit the website at ossiningmicrofund.org. You can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give a cash or check in the offering plate as it comes by. You may also scan the QR code in your order of service. From your homes, you can make your donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the newsletter. Please remember to give a little extra to compensate for the 3% surcharge. Or if you prefer, you can always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as the community of faith. And now we'll extinguish our chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
The Reverend Teresa Soto invites us. Boldly you must hang your light, neon buzzing bright, and do not be chagrined when your light blinks. It is a silent song of yes, you are welcome here. Boldly give your love and arrive at your joy. Let us go forth with boldness and courage to face our fears and shine our light wherever we may be. May it be so. here. Hi. Oh, let me give you this back. Thank you so much. And that, yeah. Yeah.
You have an interest in a copy?
Oh, yeah, isn't it, just usually you put it up on, I do, yeah, that's fine.
Well, yeah, this is different from the streaming. So
Okay.
I can send you a copy.
Oh, okay,
You
yeah.
want- It may or may not be up on the website.
Okay, that's fine, yeah, I'm always interested in copies, or just some link to have it, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you have it. You want me to give it to you, or? Yeah, that, I could write it down if you prefer, but. Thank you so much. I love the final song.